Hello, welcome to Things That Go Bump in the Night, a paranormal podcast exploring the weird, the unusual, the dark and mysterious in northern Ohio and beyond. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Dan. Buckle in, get ready, grab something to drink. The story is about to begin. Hello, welcome to another edition of Things That Go Bump in the Night. Tonight, we're going to discuss 4 legends in the area around Gore Orphanage. All of these sites are in the western end of Lorain County, and you can still go visit these sites today. So, the first thing we're going to discuss tonight is the Peasley Road Monster. The Peasley Road Monster is supposed to be a Yeti or a Sasquatch, and it lives in the Vermilion River near Peasley Road. What is Peasley Road, you ask? Glad you asked. Peasley Road is a really short road. It's about 1.5 miles long. It's spanned over Chance Creek, and it runs parallel to the Vermilion River. Back in the olden days, this road used to connect Vermilion Road and Portman Road. However, a devastating flood back in 1969 wiped out the bridge. The steel support structure of the bridge is still in existence, and you can still walk across it. However, it's completely unsafe for vehicle travel, and it's almost unsafe for pedestrian travel. You can still go to the Peasley Road site today. It is managed by the Lorain County Metro Parks, so you do have to observe and follow park rules. But let's talk about the monster. The Peasley Road Monster, at least the legend, is one of those that you can't find out much about it online. You can ask the locals, and if you can get an answer, some of them will tell you that the Peasley Road Monster is considered to be a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. If you talk to people in the area, you might be able to get them to tell the story. There is an orchard nearby Vermilion Road, and the family that owns the orchard have had numerous encounters with the Peasley Road Monster, to the point where some of them refuse to talk. There's legends that this monster lives down by the river, it has red eyes, and it will chase you away if you get too close. There's another neighbor down the road that I spoke with, and this guy says that he had an encounter with what he considers the Peasley Road Monster. It was winter. He took his dog out hunting the fields around the area. He knew the area well, and it was getting close to dark, and him and the dog were making the return trip back to the home, where his wife and family were preparing a meal. So as he was walking back to the house, he was within eye shot of the house, he's walking through this heavy snow. He stops and realizes, I need to go back to the barn. So he's making his way back to the barn. When he turned around and started walking back to the barn, he stopped and was horrified to discover that there were also tracks of another animal following him in the fresh snow. Something had made giant footprints with a stride of over 6 feet. He said he stopped in his tracks because he had the overwhelming feeling that he was being watched. He said his dog's hair was standing on end. It was growling into the darkness. He took the dog, went back home, locked the doors, and fortunately they didn't hear anything about it that night. He was convinced this was the Peasley Road Monster, and had he not made it back to the house, the outcome could have been decidedly different. I've been down to Peasley Road a number of times. I've never experienced the Peasley Road Monster, but it's a weird place. So if you do go, bring hiking shoes, insect repellent, and maybe some running shoes if you need to escape the Peasley Road Monster. The next legend we're going to discuss tonight is the legend of the Dean's Hollow Bridge. So the Peasley Road Monster that we just talked about is downstream of the Swift Mansion. If you go upstream, you'll come to the Dean's Hollow Bridge. The Dean's Hollow Bridge does just that. It crosses through Dean's Hollow. It crosses over the Vermilion River in that area. This is an old bridge. It was constructed in 1898, and the road that it uses to cross the river is one of the first roads in the area. It runs north and south, and this bridge was built in 1898 by the Massillon Bridge Company of Massillon, Ohio. It was rehabbed in 1992. The legend of Dean Hollow is such that a guy supposedly had committed suicide off the Dean's Hollow Bridge, and when he did this, he placed a curse. The curse is that if you see the shadow of the man swinging from the bridge at night, you will be dead by midnight. Of course, I have no way to validate if this is true or not, but it makes for an interesting legend. One of the problems of the Dean's Hollow Bridge is it sits up high, and there's really nowhere to park and look underneath it to even see if there is a body down there. You can walk down to the water's edge and check it out, but remember, this is Lorain County Metro Parks land, and they manage it, and you have to abide by park rules. The next place we're going to discuss is a place called Frank's Site, and this is actually really cool. It's one of the coolest sites that we're going to discuss tonight. Frank's Site today is nothing more than a patch of dirt, but we're going to talk about why this patch of dirt is special. If you want to get to Frank's Site, you can do it. If you drive down Vermilion Road, Sunnyside Road butts into it. At that intersection of Vermilion Road and Sunnyside, there's a small parking lot on the river side of the road. If you park in that parking lot and then head south or to the left, you'll find a small trail. Take that trail that follows the river. Stay on top, don't go down. Eventually, you'll come to a clearing in the river. It makes a point with an absolutely gorgeous view of the river. This is where the Erie tribe of Native Americans constructed a cemetery, and this place was known as not even a village, but the size of a city. It was phenomenally huge for the Native Americans at the time. There was a gentleman by the name of Raymond Vitson who, in 1941, excavated the entire site. They found skeletons, artifacts, arrowheads, tomahawks, you name it, and they found it. And this Raymond Vitson did a phenomenal job of documenting and preserving these artifacts for future generations to learn and study. The story about the Frank's Site is that if you take this path, and the path is short, it's maybe 3/4 of a mile long, it's flat. If you take this path and you come to the clearing, the Native Americans dance there under the full moon in celebration of a good harvest. Okay, moving right along, we have an update on Gore Orphanage, and this is kind of important for fans of Gore Orphanage today. Okay, so this rumor has to do with the bridges in the area, and the first bridge we're going to discuss is the bridge that leads through Mill Hollow. It crosses over the Vermilion River, and it's a very heavily traveled bridge over the river at that point. A lot of people use it. There's talk that they're going to close that bridge for necessary repairs. If they close that bridge, that doesn't leave a lot of other bridges in the area to cross over the Vermilion River. The closest one is going to be in Swift Hollow, aka Gore Orphanage. To do this, they would have to connect the road that Gore Orphanage is on. In other words, they're going to have to connect Gore Orphanage Road and make it whole again, and it hasn't been connected in some time. The erosion and water has washed that road away. They would have to sink a lot of money in it to upgrade that road also into 2 lanes. But if they do that, that would take a lot of the land away from what is now Swift Mansion. Swift Mansion, as you know it today, will be gone. And the Lorain County Metro Parks wouldn't even have access to it. That much land will be taken away if they expand that into 2 lanes and connect what is now Gore Orphanage Road. But if they were to do that, it would take a while, and it would be a lot of money to make that happen. So far, there has been no discussion, and the township meetings, but I will stay on top of it, and I will let you know if I hear anything else develop from that rumor. But again, there's a chance Gore Orphanage, as you know it today, may be gone. The last thing we're going to talk about is more experiences at Gore Orphanage. Like I told you before, I grew up close to Gore Orphanage, and I've had a lot of weird, strange experiences over the year. And I'll kind of go in order of maybe how frightening they were. So the last thing was the last time I was at Gore Orphanage, which was last week. I was driving down the lane, and there's a small bend in the road. At that bend, something darted in front of my car. It looked like a white light or maybe a white mist, but it jumped in front of the car the entire length to the point where my daughter and I both saw it. She looked at me and asked what it was, and I said, I don't know. It was very strange. That was it for that night. That same daughter and I were helping out with an investigation of a paranormal group. We were at the Swift Mansion. It was night. And we were conducting, I think, an EVP session, Everybody was being very quiet. There were maybe 6 people with us that evening. As we were being quiet, maybe 50 feet away, we could hear footsteps coming toward us. And if you're in the woods at night, that's a very distinct sound. Everybody stops and everybody looks. The footsteps were coming toward us. As quick as they started, they stopped. Everybody shined their flashlights over in the area where we thought it was. There was absolutely nothing there. The last story I'm going to share with you is an experience that I had at Gore Orphanage earlier this year. I was there with 2 friends of mine. It was just turning dusk, and we parked our car and walked down into the mansion site. We didn't have any gear with us. We didn't have any K2 meters or any even recorders at all. It was one of those situations where the mood just immediately turned dark, very dark and very foreboding, as if a force was saying, get out, now's the time, turn around, go back to your car. Did we listen? No, we did not. We plunged ahead. So there we were, the 3 of us, in the foundation, in the ruins of the Swift Mansion. Instantly, things just went crazy. Weird noises began to appear all around us, more so than even the road noise from the highway. These were branches breaking and things dropping around us. We could hear the footsteps coming toward us, and then the young lady from our group said, look out, this person's running at you. She said there's a shadow figure coming toward us, to the point where she got very emotional and she started to go back to the car. We trained our flashlights and could not see a thing. The mood immediately turned dark, and at that point we decided to leave. But it was very strange seeing another shadow figure at Gore Orphanage. So that's it, episode number 2. Thank you very much for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. If you do, leave us feedback. If you've had an experience at Gore Orphanage, please let me know. Thank you very much for listening, and stay tuned for episode number 3.